So we can begin to rebuild up until now. It can be instantaneous. And it is instantaneous. But when you say it was broke, maybe time to the, if he was to be restored back to the time prior to the break, you may not have the ingredients that you need to build it. Yes?
I know Dorothy spoke to you about her eye, but is that the kind of thing you go back to the baby, to the birth procedure and the being born when you're doing something like working on the physical eye?
The question comes up about someone who has an eye problem. Do you go back to the time?
You go back to, you have to go all the way back. Or do you go through the chain of circumstances? Which is the better to do, to be on the healing?
The
but
question,
it's something like that when it isn't a bone.
The question is, the person who has an eye problem, do we go back? How far do we go back? It's not for us to say we go back to the time when she was created.
You go back to the creation.
Right.
You don't go through like you did on the legal thing. You do a very different thing.
No, that's true. See, in that case, we go back to the beginning because it might have been something she started in the first incarnation. Might have been something she started in the 10th incarnation. We really don't know where this specific problem comes in. May not even be. See, when we do Ho'oponopono, it takes all the blocks away. Then we're able to diagnose a lot better.
Would it be possible to work on this one during workshop?
We can try that. That's number 2 case.
Unwanted child. He knew it was unwanted.
That's interesting. Someone's bringing up about the child that is unwanted. That is a very good question. Would you like to do that? Be that, how many cases we have? Three.
There's a lot more to the case than that, though.
Yes.
You speak of going back to birth being perfect. When I was born, as an example, in the process of being born, one arm got paralyzed. And it was well healed in about 6 months. But still in all, you're going back to my birth.
That's a good question. That's a good question, that if we were to restore him back to the time he was born from his mother's womb, did you say your arm was paralyzed?
Yes.
But I'm definitely sure you were born normal. However, through the process of delivery, there might be a possibility that this has happened.
That is what happened. It was
That's right. See, I figured that would be. But that is a good question, very good question to bring up. But we still take you back to the time of your birth because we're not infringing on a karmic situation that you are destined for. See, in other words, you were born of a certain thing, then we take you back to that time when you were born from the mother's womb. You're not going back to other incarnation. We're restoring you just back. If you were a cripple, we restore you right back to where it was.
Would you go back to the womb at that stage?
I beg your
Would
pardon?
you go right back to the womb stage? The imagery of the womb, the child in the womb, because it's being a breach.
Not the child in the womb, not the child in the womb. The child, when the child was born, the child was delivered. It is at that time. Because a lot of problems can happen in the womb prior to the birth. Now that's another thing, that during the time of pregnancy, the Hawaiians were very particular about conditioning the pregnant woman. She goes through a certain herb processes, and she's given certain herbs that would help her a lot. I just wondered if Malieve, would you like to tell me a little bit something of your experience with the herbs? Or would you care to?
The how?
Yeah. Come up here.
How?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you have to take certain herbs.
This is a young lady. Now just imagine that she wanted an herb because she was pregnant. And so I gave her the hoe. The hoe are these Hawaiian hibiscus.
Should I tell how you use it?
No, how it came about.
Yeah,
And
well,
taking the hoe.
yeah, you take the tree and you strip the bark, the outside bark. And then there's I think it's the cambium layer, and it's a tacky substance. And as you scrape it down, it ribbons. And then you take that in the water If you don't put it in the water, you don't get the house sap. And then you strain it and you drink it. And this coats the womb, cleans the womb. It keeps your uterus flexible so that when you give birth, it's fast, it's immediate, the baby is healthy, and it's also covered with an extra layer that, like doctors, when I delivered my 2 other ones, they had never seen this before, this extra layer, and they said, what is that? And they thought I was just hysterical, but I wasn't.
Thank you. See, when Malieve talked to me about it, so I said, well, we'll get the hoe. So she went to get the hoe, but I made sure that she would talk to the hoe tree. I have come to take a portion of you to help me. And then not to desecrate the plant, but go from one tree to the other and just take a little from here and there. And as she takes that, and then she puts it in a glass of water, and she drinks it. So it lubricates the womb. And this is where in today's health, we find more and more natural births should be encouraged. And we Hawaiians believed in that, and we did it, she did it. However, for her second child, she was going to the mainland, and she wondered, how can she have some hoe? So she dried them, and had just the same effect as she had when she had it fresh. And I think another process we did, shall I talk about she wanted to wean the child. So her husband called, this is by phone. Now we Hawaiians have certain processes to work on people when you want to wean the child so that you won't have any more milk. So the idea was to now we use sweet potato. So immediately I was thinking, what could you improvise? There's many things we can improvise. It's all a matter of our mind. And the papaya has that secretion, a milky secretion. So does the sweet potato. So at that moment, while I was on the phone, I immediately said, because the papaya is more abundant. And I told the husband, just get the 2 papaya leaves, and then you ask the papaya tree. I have come to get the papaya leaves for the purpose of my wife. And then so placed on the breast, it would dry her up overnight. Didn't that do you? It did. You see, no effect at all. It's beautiful. See, the power of the mind, it can be used in many, many ways. Now, this is a girl that's never been schooled in Hawaiian. But the idea is, on a first moment, as a first aid, what do you do? Oh, we do sweet potato, we have this ritual for such, and so you can bypass that and still get the results without the ritual. However, the ritual of talking to the tree is most important because they have nature spirits, and you have asked permission to take the leaves for that specific purpose. So overnight, her breast was dry. And now this is only on a phone conversation across the island.
And the leaf has to be the green leaf, not the...
Well, green leaves, it does, yeah. So what could you improvise to use instead on the mainland?
Right.
You don't have papaya, and I leave it up to your imagination.
I have a young girl that I'm preparing for childbirth, and we're working with the herbs on the mainland, but I have one also that is weaning a baby, and I don't know what to do.
Try it. No, you may not have a papaya, but see, because of the fact that a papaya has this milky secretion, I felt would be likened unto a sweet potato. This was an emergency. So maybe because the milky secretion is a symbology, symbolizes the milk. And is the prayer that you use, you want to release the milk and then send it back to the source. So send it back to the source.
He just mentioned we have milkweed in the mainland.
Possibly could do that. Maybe something for you to try and see let us know how successful it is. So, yes.